Hello everybody, I'm Bede, aka the Terrible Australian, the co-host of Super Podcast, and welcome to my final 2012 MIFF video review. For this one I'll be reviewing the films The Hunt, starring Mads Mikkelsen, and I'm the director of Dogtooth, Alps. So let's get right into it. The Hunt. Set in a small town, the film tells the story of a teacher by the name of Lucas, who in the film is played by Mads Mikkelsen, and one day one of the children that he teaches at the school wrongfully accuses him of a crime so terrible that it basically destroys his life in one fatal swoop. Even though I was being a bit vague with the crime that the character of Lucas is accused of, but I think for all of you out there, I think you can all pretty much assume what the crime was. But the one thing I can definitely tell you about The Hunt is that this was an absolutely powerful film. It is absolutely riveting and engaging from beginning to end, and I think, and there's a lot of factors of why that is. Even though there have been a lot of films that have dealt with this type of story before, but this film does something that's completely different in a lot of subtle ways. And I wish I could explain why that is, but it would sort of take up too much time of this video review. But what I liked about this film is that it sort of explores this crime in a way that I had never seen this type of crime done in a film or TV show or anything before, and it's basically interesting on how this whole town copes with this crime, and especially their reactions towards the character of Lucas, who is completely innocent of this crime. And that's one of the things I did like about the film, is that from the very beginning, you know the character of Lucas is innocent. It's not one of those films where you sort of go back and forth whether he actually did it or not. You know about it right up front that he didn't do this, and it's basically the aftermath of what happens when he gets accused of this crime, and how it affects him in this small town and as well as the people around him. And I think that's all due to Mads Mikkelsen's performance. He is absolutely astonishing in this film. He brings a lot of depth to this character, and his character says so much without even saying anything. Like the scene where the headmaster at the school he's teaching sits down with him and tells him the first time what he's being accused of. You can just definitely see it in his face that this is something that he never thought would ever happen to him, and you can see all that in his face. And Mads Mikkelsen does a lot of that in this film, where he reveals what the character's feeling and thinking just through his body language, through his facial expressions. And it's a really subtle and beautifully acted performance by Mikkelsen. He's extraordinary in this film. And also, the whole casting in this film is terrific. Everybody in the supporting cast is fantastic. And I just really liked how the movie explored, like, how these townspeople react to this news, and in a way I became really frustrated and angry, not because of the film, but what these characters were doing. And they were quick to judge this man without actually seeing the evidence, and also doing more harm than good. And I think that the film does that extremely well, and it kind of elevates the film to be more than it already is. And like I said, it does those type of things, and these are aspects of the film I've never seen done in a story like this before. So it was really refreshing, and made the film even more powerful and engaging. And that's what I love so much about this film. And it's a complete powerhouse film, and there's so many great moments, great scenes sprinkled throughout this film that are completely unforgettable. The only time I think the film falters, and this is, well, at least for me anyway, I kind of is the ending. It's not the ending is bad. The film sort of ends on a whimper rather than a bang, because I was expecting more of a strong. The ending felt a bit weak and wasn't really that strong at all. I think I understand what the director Thomas Vinterberg was trying to do with the ending, but I'm not sure if it quite exactly worked. And I think if the ending was better, if this film would have definitely been my favorite film of this year. The Hunt is a truly great film that I definitely recommend everyone to check out, especially for Mads Mikkelsen's performance, who is astonishingly good in this film, and he well deserved his win for Best Actor at the Cannes Film Festival this year. It's a great performance. If I had to rate it out of 5, I'd give it a very high 4.5 stars. I wish I could have given it 5 stars, and I wanted to, but I think the last 10 minutes of the film was too faulty for me to give it that 5-star rating. But it's still a great film nonetheless. The ending might work for other people, but it didn't really quite work for me. So, The Hunt, fantastic film that everyone should check out once it becomes available, whether on DVD or even the cinemas. Definitely check it out when you can. And my final film that I saw at MIFF this year was the film Alps, which I was very much looking forward to, because this was the follow-up film from the director of Dogtooth, whose name I'm not going to say because I'll probably end up butchering it and everyone will get angry at me, so I'm just not going to say his name at all. But definitely what made me interested in this film was the fact that it was directed by the director of Dogtooth, and Dogtooth was a fantastic film, even though it was a completely disturbing film, and it's definitely not for everyone, but it's definitely a rather unique film that everyone should see. And I was very excited to see his follow-up, and when I heard about the plot, I thought this plot is completely original and unique. I could explain what the plot is about, but I think, again, it's probably best not to know too much about this film, because I think your overall experience with this film kind of hinders on the fact whether you don't know much about the plot, because I knew what the plot was when I came to this film, and I had all these kind of possibilities of what the film, like what was going to happen in the film, because it seemed to me like this film was going to be a much more dramatic, much more emotionally powerful experience than Dogtooth was, even though that film was really fantastic for its own reasons. I have to admit, ended up being rather disappointed by Alps. Like, there are a lot of aspects that I really liked about the film, and that I admired a lot. I think the movie looks great, it's very well directed, and the performances from the cast are all pretty good. And there are some really good moments and memorable moments that are sprinkled out through this film. But for me, I kind of feel like this movie was lacking something, and when I was watching the film, I kind of felt that, like it was missing something. And after, when I sort of thought about it for a while after watching it, I realized that it was lacking in an emotional core. And this film just felt too cold for me emotionally. And Dogtooth was the same as well, but that kind of worked for what that movie was going for. And I kind of feel like this film was trying to do something more emotional, or at least that's what I assumed the film was going to be about based on its plot. But it ended up being a rather cold experience, and I just couldn't really fully invest in either of the characters or of the story, even though the performances were good and the story was original. But I just couldn't invest at all in this film emotionally, and it just felt really cold. And also, the film was kind of too vague on some things. I loved if the film kind of explored more of its story and of its characters, because I felt like the film didn't really explore them enough. And I think if the film did, I probably would have got a lot more out of it. But I think it was just too vague for its own good. And not to, again, compare to Dogtooth, but Dogtooth did have a little vagueness with it, but again, that worked for that film. But I was still completely engaged by the story and by the characters. But in this film, wasn't engaged by either the story or the characters of Alps, and it kind of disappointed me in that regard. I guess that's the main reason. Like, I'd be interested to hear what other people say about the film. Maybe they had a much more different reaction to it than I did, but yeah, I just didn't really feel anything from this film. Even like, I admire the movie a lot, and I think it's a film that's worth seeing. Yeah, it just was lacking in that emotional core that a story like this could have had. And if it did, I would have been more engaged by what was happening in the film, but unfortunately I wasn't, and that kind of disappointed me a bit. Like, overall, it is a decent film. It's solid. Maybe it's a film I might like even more on the second watch, so maybe I might have to wait until then. But at the moment, I admire it. There are a lot of aspects of the film I do like, but overall it was pretty underwhelming. But I definitely would recommend everyone check it out nonetheless. If you did enjoy or did like Dogtooth, I definitely say it's worth checking this film out. But at the same time, don't expect too much. If you love it, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. And for me, I'm sort of smack bang right in the middle of this film. But overall, if I had to give it a rating out of 5, I give it a solid 3. Like, there are a lot of good things about the film, but it was just lacking too much for me to really fully invest in the film. Well, like everyone, that's it. That's the end of my 2012 MIFF video reviews. I hope you all enjoyed them all so far, and I hope that that all my reviews were both entertaining and insightful, and hopefully that the films I talked about has piqued your interest in either checking them out or not checking them out at all. I have to say, I had a great time at MIFF this year. This was my first ever film festival I went to, and I'm glad that I went, and I really enjoyed myself. And I'm happy that I saw, of the 17 films that I did end up seeing, I saw a lot more good than I did bad. And I think even like the weakest films that I saw, which were 100 Bloody Acres and VHS, those movies I didn't hate at all. They were just average, but I was glad that I was still able to check those films out, even though those films kind of disappointed me in their own ways. But I'm happy that I saw a lot more good films this year. I don't know how I would have been if I saw a really bad one, but I'm just really happy I saw so many great films, some of which I can definitely see making my top 10 at the end of the year, particularly Killer Joe and Undefeated, which of the films I saw were the only films I gave 5 stars to. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed these video reviews, and if you like these video reviews, and if you'd like me to do more of them in the future, whether it be for MIFF next year or just for any other random video reviews for anything, for any films, both old and new, definitely let me know on either my Twitter page at twitter.com/BedeJemine, or my Facebook page at facebook.com/BedeJemine, or you can email me at bj4prez@hotmail.com, or just leave a comment here on the video page. And yeah, definitely keep a lookout in the future. I might do more of them, so we'll see how the reaction to these videos go. And depending on how many films I'm seeing next year at MIFF, I may do another video reviews for those as well. So thank you for everyone for watching these videos, and I'll see you all next time. Okay, I'll see you everyone. Bye.